Would you travel solo? The truth about my 50 plus days being in Bali. Get ready for this one and get a pen and paper. The What's Eating You podcast is a series of mental health topics that are designed to make you think, learn, educate, and validate. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of the What is Eating You podcast. Today is a Freestyle Friday. Happy Friday if you're listening to this today, or if you're listening to this on another day, don't worry, it is not time specific, so you're going to get heaps out of this episode. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit different to the other ones. It is not focused on mental health. It is focused on my time being here in Bali and the questions that you asked. So I received quite a lot of questions on my Instagram. And if you have any more questions regarding this, you are welcome to ask me, but I'm going to go through a lot of it. And I think it's going to be helpful for people who may be thinking of traveling solo, who want to come to Bali, who want to know the do's, the don'ts, the ins, the outs. This one is for you. Okay, if you're new here, welcome. My name's Steph and I'm a psychologist and I have been in Bali since the 5th of October. I've been here for so long because I've chosen to stay. I have loved Bali since I was a child. I first came here on a family vacation and we did it all. My dad took me to the rice fields. He took me to the factories. He took me to see where things were made, to the mountains, whitewater rafting. It was such a wholesome, beautiful family trip and I am extremely grateful for those memories. But obviously I'm doing a very different trip now. The first question you asked me was what inspired me to go? So I've always loved it here. I just feel it's my home. I feel different when I'm in Bali. And this is also the reason I moved to the Gold Coast, because I feel the Gold Coast gives me Bali vibes. It's got similar weather. It's got similar energy and it is different to Melbourne. Melbourne, the weather's takes such a cognitive load. You're always talking about how cold it is and how freezing it is and how the weather's always changing. But to wake up and not think about the weather or having to dress warm or having to manage that part of your life feels very relieving. So I've always loved it here and it's always had a really beautiful place in my heart. And I know many people can relate to that. What inspired me to go this time around is I've actually been invited to educate at Women's Fitness Academy's retreats. The national or now global, congratulations, Women's Fitness Academy is a business where they educate women to become personal trainers and they have online education. And as part of this accreditation, they run retreats to get all your prac work done. And as part of that, they have educational seminars. So I educate about eating disorders, disordered eating, if you see this in your clients, what to do. If you're struggling with this, what to do. I educate on neurodiversity, the nervous system, and the workshops just keep changing, goal setting, your vision, and I love it. One of my goals and visions was to educate at retreats or run retreats, and I'm very blessed and lucky that this opportunity has come and I love it. So what happened was I was here for the first retreat earlier this year. It was in July and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And I did the retreat. I did come a bit earlier, but then I left. And I was so looking forward to October. I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll stay a month. So I booked my flight and it was just under a month. It was, I believe, 24 days. And then whilst I was here, I just thought I'm going to extend it. I love it here and it's quite easy. So here is what happens. If you come to Bali, you book your flights, you need to have a flight booked to come home. You cannot book a one-way ticket from my understanding, because when you're at the airport, they will ask you when your flight back is, but you can always change your flight back. It's no issue. So my first recommendation is to book flexible flights if you think you may change your flight or you want to change your dates in any way. The second thing is you need a visa. Now the visa you can do at the airport and just pay cash. I don't do this because there is a massive line and it's annoying. So I do my visas online. So just make sure you're on a valid website. There's a lot of fake visa websites out there that I've heard about. So just make sure you're on the right one. And a visa is 50 Australian dollars and usually you just get a 30-day visa. you have the opportunity to extend this visa for another 30 days with no requirements. You don't have to do anything. So that's what I did. I was here for 30 days and then I extended it for another 30. So essentially I need to be out of the country by December 3rd because that's when this visa expires. What happens if you're not out of the country? I think you pay a fine, might be $100. But I also just want to put a disclaimer. I'm not a Bali expert. This is just what I've learned during my time here and what I've learned from other people. So always do your own research when you are traveling. If I wanted to stay longer, so past that 30-day extension, you need to do a visa run. So basically you need to leave the country and come back. So some people go to Vietnam because it's close to here. Some people go to Singapore. Some people will go back home. It just depends on what you need to do, but you just leave the country and you can come back. So that's what inspired me to go, and also just wanting to challenge myself. I've really grown up living in a bit of a quote unquote safe bubble. I've never really done the traveling thing. I've never really took any major challenges. I've never taken many risks. In business, yes, but in terms of, I guess, personal solo travel, it just wasn't something that was, I guess, highlighted when I was growing up. You know, we just lived at home. I just knew Melbourne as my home. And I've been to Europe for a few weeks at a time. And when I say the word travel, I wouldn't say I'm a traveler. I don't do the whole backpacker thing and going to different places and sightseeing. I would say I do a very relaxed kind of education / work / gym / extension of my natural lifestyle type of travel, but with a lot of flexibility. And I'll go more into that in a second. The second question I had was, did you plan the scope of your trip or just book it and trust? That's a good question. And I think it's a little bit of both. One thing I've really learned about being over here is you don't need to have everything planned and structured and where you're going to go. It is actually better to do some things more last minute or not know what you're doing. So for example, many people will book a villa or book an accommodation and realize that it's crap. And if you've booked 30 days in that accommodation, you're kind of stuck. Whereas if you book the first 4 days and you like it, you can extend it. So I think a recommendation is do thorough research on the place you're staying at. Make sure, there are reviews, because I've heard horror stories about Airbnbs cancelling or not being available, etc. So just be mindful of that. So you can just book, I guess, a week at a time, your accommodation. But if you know a place is good, book it longer. But I think the longer you book at some places, you may get a discount. So for me, what I knew was where I was going to stay for the retreat. So I stayed at the retreat resort, but I think in the future, I don't necessarily need to stay there because I know my way around. I feel confident and it's okay. And then I knew where I was staying before, and then I just winged it. So I made a friend here and we decided to move in together. So we were looking for a 2-bedroom villa together just to feel a bit more settled. When you have your own villa, it does feel a little bit more like a home versus if you're in a guest house or if you're in a hotel. But it just depends on what your needs are. So I think if you're thinking of traveling, just ask yourself, what are my needs? Do I want to stay somewhere where it's going to be social? Do I want to stay somewhere where it's going to be more quiet? And that'll help you plan your trip. So for me, on the first leg, before I went to the Eduvation, the retreat, I stayed somewhere I knew was going to be right next to Social Life. So I stayed right next to Body Factory. Now, if you've watched my stories on Instagram, I love Body Factory. It is just a gym. It's a gym that's really cool. It has ice baths, it has saunas, it has classes, but it has an amazing community. And the only reason I joined, well, one of the reasons, was to make friends. So I stayed right next door to that. And it was fantastic because I just walked across the road. If I needed to quickly go back and do, some work or something, I could do that. But essentially, I did it to make friends. And within my first 2 days, I met that need. I met 2 women. I really became close with them. And one of them is the one I'm living with now. So I stayed close to Social Life in my first leg of my trip because I needed to make friends and that's what I wanted to do. So when I came here, I did know people who were on the retreat. I know one person who lives in Bali, so we caught up a little bit. But I think the important thing to remember is if you do know people here or you do make friends, everyone is kind of living their own life. Everyone is busy. Everyone's doing their own thing. So you do need to be sort of flexible around expectations on friendship. So if you're someone who perhaps gets upset if you make plans and someone cancels, or you expect someone to call you or reply to your messages straight away, you need to be a bit flexible about that, because when people are here, they're still trying to figure it out as well. So just keep that in mind. And then what happened was we moved to the villa, and now I'm in a villa a little bit far away. It's a 10-minute drive from Body Factory, but that's okay. I like feeling settled here. The next question, how did you get around? There is an app you need to download. It's called Grab, but it's also called Gojek. So there's two apps. I was using Gojek, G-O, Go, and then J-E-K. And then the second app you need to get is Grab, G-R-A-B. They do the same thing, but I've just found that Grab has been a little bit more reliable. So through the Grab app, it's kind of your Uber of Bali, your Uber Eats, and your Uber Transport. So I get motorbikes everywhere, so you just jump on the back. I think it's very safe. You can wear a helmet. It just helps you avoid the traffic. It's much quicker. It's much more affordable, and it's like between $1 and $2 to travel between destinations, just depending on the length of the destination, where you're going, etc. You can get a car, but it will take longer. It is more expensive, etc. If you're someone who doesn't want to do either of that, get around on a bike or go in a car, I'd recommend staying somewhere where there's lots of shops and cafes around and you can just walk. So for example, in Canggu, that's where I love to stay and be. Canggu is very bustling, it's busy, it's got everything I need, and I absolutely love it. I haven't been everywhere in Bali, so this probably isn't a accurate representation of where you can stay or where you should stay. It's my experience, but I've branched out. I've eaten in Burwawa, that's hard to say, Perennarenanan. I've been to Uluwatu, which is about an hour and a half away. That's more in the countryside on the cliff. It's beautiful for a weekend away. But I haven't been to Ubud yet, which is the real sort of mountain spiritual side of Bali. So again, these are my recommendations based on my needs, but you just need to ask yourself, what am I looking for out of this trip? What are my needs? What is my ideal life / holiday? What would that look like? And then go with that. Next question, what inspired you? I guess what inspired me is wanting to challenge myself and wanting to see if I can set up the systems for success and work on my business whilst I was in another country. I think we get really stagnant. We get really stuck in the day-to-day grind, and we are so busy that we don't often stop and think, where is my life going? What do I really want to be doing? Am I happy? Am I tired? Am I burnt out? I think when you live in a society or a world that is very go, 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 depending on whether you're in Australia, US, UK, doesn't really matter. It's very go, go, go. Living is very expensive and you don't have time to think because you're basically just surviving. You're not thriving. And I don't speak on behalf of everyone, but what I've just noticed is when you are so busy, you don't often stop and think about your life and what you want your life to be. And being in a completely different space, away from your routine, away from everyone, really allows you to reflect and think about stuff. And it's not easy. There's been days I am low mood. There's days I'm, oh my gosh, should I go back? Like, what am I feeling? Because I am someone who is happy and positive for a lot of the time. So if I don't feel that, I'm like, oh, what's happening? But it's really normal. And I think we call it the Bali effect. When you're in Bali, it just brings up so much stuff. It allows you to reflect. It allows you to brainstorm and all that stuff. And many people are on different types of journeys. People come here on a healing journey. People come here following a breakup. Everyone just has such a unique story. And I think that's why many people connect with each other because they can relate to each other's stories. So that's what inspired me. What would you do differently? Ooh, what would I do differently? I've actually put a list together with my friend of things to keep in mind the next time we come here, because you learn a lot on your way and what to do. So here are some things to note and some of my suggestions. Number one, it is not as cheap as you think. If you think Bali is cheap, just keep this in mind. It depends on what you like, what you want to do, and where you want to go. So for example, the villa I'm living in right now, it's a 3-bedroom villa or 2 bedrooms and a lounge room. It has a pool. We have a cleaner 3 times a week. We have a gardener. We have all of that stuff, and it's great, no complaints. And we are probably paying more than the average rate because we are going through, I guess, a third person to make it easier. But for me, I like ease and I like efficiency, and just to be able to communicate with someone who, is from the UK, who is our landlord, who we know, I trust that process and I'm okay to pay for that certainty and that trust. So where I'm staying now is $800 each a fortnight. So it's $32,000 Australian a month. So for each of us, it's 400 Australian dollars a week. So that works out to $35 a day. So it's not that much roughly. But where I was staying before, when I was right next to Body Factory, that was a guest house, and that was $80 a night. But it depends. You can find accommodation for way cheaper. You can find accommodation for way more expensive. If you want to stay somewhere luxurious like the W, that's like $550 a night. So it just depends on your budget and what you want. And I've done both ends of the spectrum. I've stayed in really upmarket places because I wanted that luxury experience. I'm not someone to spend my money on bags and clothes on a consistent basis. Every now and then I'll spoil myself, but for me, I love travel and I love staying in nice places and I like nice da-da-da. So it depends. When I say expensive, that's going to vary for everyone, but it depends on what you want to do. And it's not cheap. It's not that cheap. Depending on where you want to eat, many really nice restaurants and where you go for dinners and brunches, it is cheaper, but it may not be as cheap as you think. But there are ways to get things cheaper. So for example, when you join gyms or when you join Body Factory, they have a list of businesses that offer you discount. So if you order food from there, it's 15% off. If you go get your nails done at a particular place, it's 15 to 20% off. So it's a really great business model where they are networking with businesses so you can get that discount. But living here and being here, it's not as cheap as you probably think. You're paying for transportation, you're paying for your visa, you're paying for accommodation, every meal you pay out. Yes, you can go to the shops and you can buy food, but honestly, it really is much of a muchness. You're not saving that much. And everyone I speak to here who lives here eats most of their meals out because it doesn't really save you that much to eat from home. But again, it just depends on what you're eating. Next, gym memberships. They are not cheap here. Body Factory was probably the biggest expense here, but it has brought me the most value. So the gym membership is cheaper depending on how long you want to be a member for. So for example, I did a monthly membership the second time I signed up, and that was way more value than a weekly membership. So I think the monthly membership, including tax, was about $440. So you're paying about $100 a week, more than that for the gym, but that's inclusive of everything. That's a gold membership. That's sauna, ice bath, discount on the food, discount on the businesses, the classes, that's everything. You can get cheaper memberships if you just want dribs and drabs of what they include, but for just 1 week, when I didn't buy a month, when I just bought 1 week, I think it was $240. So the longer you buy the membership for, the more affordable it is. But yeah, just be aware, if you're wanting to train at a really good gym, it's not necessarily cheap. So yeah, it really comes down to what you want to do and what you value. But for me, I spend a lot of time there. I work from the cafe. I hang out there with my friends. I, eat there. So even my friends, just the friends I've made there, that's been the value. We've created what we call our little Bali family, and they're a group and we see each other every day. So I believe it was really an investment versus a cost. The next thing, just practical things I want to suggest to you. Ladies, this is for the ladies. So if you're a guy, you can skip this part, but sanitary items are so expensive here. So if you're going to be here, ladies, bring your tampons, bring your sanitary items because they are hard to find. When I was talking to my friend about it, she was like, trying to find tampons in Asia, good luck. So what I've discovered is you can buy them from the pharmacy called Guardian Pharmacy. And I think the Guardian Pharmacy is a type of pharmacy here that is similar to our Chemist Warehouse or our discount chemist. It is a little bit cheaper, but they're still expensive. For example, I bought from the cheaper pharmacy, the big one, and I traveled 2.4 kilometers last night to get them. It was 20 tampons was about $12. Right? When I went to the boutique pharmacy, so they've got a lot of boutique pharmacies everywhere, I bought 8 tampons for $11, right? So if you were traveling, ladies, bring your sanitary items because they are really on the pricey side here and they are hard to find. And we all know when you're going through your cycle, you don't need any additional stress. So that's my first biggest tip. And if anyone's thinking of starting a business, I would honestly start a women's sanitary business in Bali because, something needs to be done there. So there's a business idea. You can thank me later. The second thing is headphones. Make sure you bring your headphones and bring a backup pair. Bring a dodgy backup pair that just plug in. So for me, I missed my flight last time when I was in Bali and I left my AirPods on the plane. They are sitting in Sydney Terminal Airport somewhere. I have to go find them. I've got the GPS on. I've contacted Sydney Airport. I've done everything. No one cares. No one's looking for them. That's okay. My own fault. I bought dodgy headphones here, but they are so bad and they broke. I actually can't believe the guy replaced them, but bring 2 pairs of headphones. Bring your good ones, but then bring a dodgy pair of headphones as well. The third thing is battery pack. It's amazing here because you can just give your phone to restaurants, cafes, whoever, and say, can you charge my phone? And they will look after it, but the charges are not strong. So I would highly suggest and recommend bringing a battery pack with you so you've always got emergency battery if you need. But don't worry because you can charge your phone in many places. On that note, bring your adapter with you too. If you don't have one, you can buy them here, but an adapter will save your life. Third thing, laundry. Laundry is very cheap to do here. You can get your clothes washed. You can get everything done. It is so affordable. I think for over 2 kilos of washing, I paid maybe $4 or $7. It was very cheap. So you can do that here. But just pack light, comfortable clothes and a few going out clothes. You do want to bring some dressy clothes because you do end up going to places that are quite nice, or depending on your age range, if you want to go to, fancy restaurants or go out to clubs or whatever it is, bring nice going out clothes as well. But make sure you've got comfort. You've got your baggy t-shirts, you've got your pajamas, bring lots and lots and lots and lots of underwear, and bring more than one pair of bathers. Bring lots of bathers because you're going to be swimming regularly. You're going to be in the water. So you want as many bathers as you can get your hands on. On that note, many people have asked me what it's like not knowing anyone, traveling alone, and that they're scared. I was scared too. When the retreat ended, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to dinner by myself. I've never done this. And it is so normal here. You go to a restaurant or a cafe and there's one person at every table. It's so normal to just sit on your phone, sit on your laptop and eat by yourself here. And I love that because I feel maybe back home, not that there's judgment, but you might feel a bit weird going out by yourself or feel a little bit strange. It's very normal here and it's a great way to meet people. On that note, meeting people, be open, smile, talk, say hello. I've just noticed people just talk to me. I don't know if I look approachable. I don't know what it is, but People are just friendly. They just want to have a chat, etc. But you have to give the signs, smile, sit with an open posture, ask people questions, take an interest in other people's lives. Hey, how are you? What's your name? How long have you been here? I think a lot of people want to talk about themselves, and that's okay. But if you want to build rapport with people, ask about their life. Ask them questions. People love to be asked about themselves and their questions and their life. The next question is, what would you do differently? Probably, aside from all those tips I gave, I maybe would bring a few more snacks, but you don't really snack here. It's really strange. But just things like I would bring more of my coffee, my Before You Speak, which I love. Mindfood Steph for a discount code on that. If you have protein shakes, bring your protein powder, bring your snacks, bring your medication. Obviously, if it's specific mental health medication, make sure that you can bring it, because some medications may not be allowed in the country. I know some countries have some issues with stimulants, but not all of them. So just check that. And the third thing I would do differently is when I come back next year, because I will be educating at retreats, I am definitely going to get a membership at a co-working space. At the moment, I haven't been working full on, but I've been working on other endeavors. I've been focusing on the back end of my business. I've been working on planning 2024. So in terms of, I guess, working, have I been working while I've been here? People have asked me. Yes, but not really to the extent that you work back home. It's more just working on the business than like having a 9 to 5. But I've never really worked the 9 to 5. But essentially, the co-working spaces are another great way to meet people. So there's a co-working space called B Work, which is near Body Factory. And on this road is everything you need. So you can buy a membership where you pay, $100 for 30 hours, and then you get access to focus rooms, etc. I think I'll do that next time, because I think the thing that's challenging is working and then wanting to swim and then wanting to go in the pool and wanting to meet your friends. So finding that integration, I think having a co-working space where I could just set up, do my work for an hour or two, and then come back and then have access to focus rooms where I could record my podcast. I think I'll do that next time, just so I don't have to go back and forth to do particular meetings that I need to be in a quiet room for. So that's my suggestions. I think overall, if you're thinking of doing it, you can think till the cows come home, but you really just have to do it and figure it out along the way. People are so lovely here. People want to help you. I've learned so much about myself from being here. I've learned so much about what I want. I've learned so much about the direction of my business. Why? Because I've given myself the opportunity to not be go, 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 go. I've given myself the opportunity to actually feel free and not be hard on myself and not be self-critical and not be like, you have to do this and go that. And that has given my brain the space to really figure out what it wants. So if this is you, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling burnt out, it might be time to take a little break or take a little holiday if you can. And I know that this may not be possible for everyone, and I feel very lucky and blessed to be able to do this. But I think whatever your circumstances are, it's always good to reflect on what it is you really want to be doing with your life and what you need in your life. If you enjoyed this random episode, let me know. Please leave a review. We are almost at 50 ratings on Spotify. We just need 2 more. So if you could be one of those 2 people, I'd really appreciate it. And let me know. Let me know if you do leave a review. Take a screenshot, tag me on Instagram, and always let me know what episodes you want to hear, because you determine what comes out here. And I always value your feedback, and I appreciate you listening so much. Have the best day. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.